Right guys, welcome back to another episode. Still kind of in this off-season health phase, primary phase, whatever you want to call it. Ticking over nicely before we kind of start prep in about 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks. For me really prep is kind of already started. I mean it's nothing really changes in terms of the mindset towards the transfer from off-season to prep. Everything kind of just stays the same, for me anyway. The only things that change really is food and cardio. Get adjusted, and training might adjust slightly, but how we attack each day, doesn't change. So for me right now it's just a case of food is staying where it's at. I'm still kind of forcing food, even though I'm only on about 5,400 at the moment. But I just feel like because we've been pushing for so long, my appetite's kind of just a bit dead. It doesn't really seem to come back as quickly as it has before, just because the length of time we spent pushing food. Food's still not low, so it's still fairly high, definitely above. I would say slightly above maintenance, because the weight is tending to hold what it was morning, what it's been going up for the last 2-3 days. Still got high days involved and stuff twice a week, just to kind of make sure we're solidifying body weight. But in terms of everything else, like I said, 2-3 weeks left of this health phase, and then food will start dropping after that. Because at the moment we're about 18 or 19 weeks out from our first show, which is mad to say. So when prep starts, we'll be 16 weeks out pretty much from our first show of the season, which is exciting for sure. I'm kind of looking forward for body weight to drop, just to take some stress off my body, just to get back into my solid routine. Those who've been watching for a while now, a couple of years, I was very much a 6 a.m. trainer. Come to the gym at 6 and train. At the moment, just because food's been so high and I'll be going to bed later from eating meals, I've pushed it towards more 8 o'clock, so very different for me. But I'm very much looking forward to getting back into the routine of training early. Obviously when prep kind of starts, we'll be doing cardio after training, steps after training as well. So kind of just looking forward to that really. But today we are on pull, back and calves, and a bit of hamstrings. So take you through today. I haven't done a pull session in a while, in about 5 or so weeks. So I thought I'd get the mic on, do some talking, and take you through today's session. It's a bit of a lengthy one. We go from movement A to movement H. That's kind of how long the session is. And it's predominantly back, one hamstring movement, one calf movement, just to kind of build up that frequency through the week. So we're doing hamstrings twice a week, calves twice a week. Even though it's one movement, I still get a lot of damage from that one movement. I'm still very sore in the hamstrings the day after. So I'm quite happy with how I've been able to attack that one movement, and just being able to connect with it as well as I can. I think just from years of continuing to do those movements and hamstring movements and mind to muscle, you don't need 6-7 hamstring movements to blow up your hamstrings, so that's kind of where we are. I'll start with shrugs and then into kind of my first compound, which is T-bars. But yeah, I'll take you through today. Nothing's really changing in terms of volume at the moment, in terms of how many sets we're working with. Obviously I need to keep in touch with Luke. Luke is my coach. I'm basically giving feedback on my recovery, how I'm feeling during training as well. just so if we need to change anything training-wise, it's going to be a drop in volume, it's going to be a drop in a set or two, just to kind of bring that fatigue down a bit. Because obviously health phase, you know, we take down gear to a TRT level, so that recovery is not going to be as much as it is when we're pushing. So with training staying the same, we just need to be aware of that. Obviously we have had a food drop at the start of this phase, so we're dealing with less food as well and less body weight. I'm actually 143.5 kilo at the moment, so eventually 0.5 away from the heaviest I was off season. So I'm pretty happy I've been able to actually hold that. Obviously it's been going up and down. Some days I've hit 140, you know, I'm holding around like the 141s, 142s. And then normally after a rest day is where I hit the 143s, you know, 0.5s, just because I have 6 meals on a rest day, 5 meals on a training day. I'll go into that a bit deeper when I do a full day vegan soon, about meals and stuff. But today's just training, so we'll get started. Typically, with the sets and everything, it's probably one top set, one back off set across the board really for today, just because every single back movement we do is a very heavy compound movement. There's only probably one fluff movement in here. It's just a pretty heavy, brutal session, but that's what we need to do to bring up the back, you know. That's what's going to build the thickness, the density to our back. So, yeah, we'll show you how it's done. Hip. Oof. 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 T-bar row, which is our kind of first compound movement of the session. 2 sets on here. I'm still working up to like just over 7 plates, which, you know, my goal for a health phase before potentially training changes a bit in terms of like the movement order of what we're doing. We'll never change kind of what movements are in the session. We'll tend to change the order of those movements. So say T-bar row for now is second in, we might put that to 5th or 6th, which is obviously going to change how much load I'm going to be using, which is going to force me to set new numbers when it comes down to hitting top sets and back off sets. You know, so as food drops, strength is naturally going to come down a bit. And having to try and hold, you know, 7 plates, which I'll probably be able to do for the first, you know, 4 or 5 weeks of prep. But, you know, as soon as food starts to really plummet, cardio goes up, you know, steps go up, I start to drop body fat. It's going to be much harder to hit those sets. And I tend to force myself to do those sets, even if I might not be able to strength-wise, which can then lead to potential injury, which is the last thing we want in off-season or prep, especially prep. So changing the order will force me to set new numbers, which potentially might happen. So just trying to hold this for as long as I can. You know, body weight's still pretty high, food is still pretty high, so I'm confident that I can go week by week and hold these numbers. So I'm basically just trying to match my sets from off season. That's kind of how I look at it. Obviously, if there's an extra rep there, I'll take it. If not, you know, the least I'll do is aim to match. So that's what we're working on today. 7 plates and a 1.25 for 12 reps. So I'm pretty used to, you know, this movement now and this load, especially with like the high rep range. I always used to be someone who would do on my compounds, you know, 6 to 8s. That was my staple. 6 to 8, 10 to 14 on back offs. You know, now we're doing like more so 8 to 12s, you know, 10 to 12s on top sets, and then back offs are more like 12 to 14s, 15 to 20s. So, you know, I'm building my strength up. You know, I only used to be able to do. Talking about it now is actually quite shocked me a bit, but I only used to do like 6.5 plates for a set of 8. Now I'm doing 7 plates and a 1.25 for 12. So yeah, pretty cool. But we'll run this for as long as I can. Obviously, if it gets to a point where it seems dangerous, because obviously this load is pretty dangerous, if not controlled well, if not in the right mindset to do. You know, if that starts creeping in, I will drop load, or I'll tell Luke that this is a situation. You know, the worst thing you can feel under load or on a top set is vulnerable. And I've felt that before, and it's not a nice feeling. That's when going for those top sets and forcing those top sets is probably not a good idea. I'm kind of like a do as I say, not as I do type person, because I will just force myself to do it. That's just who I am. That's just what I've done, and I am, you know, I am very much a stickler to the logbook as well. So whatever it says in the logbook, I do it, you know, and I'm always looking for progression. But I need to remind myself that, you know, we're not powerlifters. You know, I can still grow. Even if I drop down to like 5 plates, I'll probably still put on decent tissue and improve form and muscle connection, and there's loads of things, tempo, everything. So I'm slowly getting into that realm of things. I've just been very much strength focused for a long time now, but I feel that's what's got me to where I am right now. So I'm kind of in 2 minds about dropping that out and changing my training. I'm going to stop talking now and we'll get into the set. Oosh. Up. Hup. Hey. Whew. Hamstring pull down in for third movement. This is kind of my second compound. Before we go into like some single arm work. Again, 2 sets on here, top set, back off. Still maintaining off-season numbers. Like I said, it's pretty boring, this training at the moment, just because, you know, weights aren't moving up, weights aren't moving down. It's kind of just holding numbers until we kind of get green light as such. We kind of prep to start, but even then, my goal throughout the whole of prep is to maintain numbers. So unfortunately, the excitement of big progressions and strength are kind of over. But you know, there's a time and a place for that. And now isn't really the time or the place to be doing that, just because it caused injury, it caused bad form, and you know, trying to do something that my body doesn't want to do, is not in the place to do, just doesn't make sense. So you know, being smart, taking a smart approach to it, and you know, I'm still probably forcing a few sets, but that's the only way I know how to train, is, you know, balls to the wall every session. So we'll just see how long we can do this for, pretty much, and just take into account, you know, when food does drop and when cardio does go up and when body weight does start to go down. We need to take that into account with what load I'm using and how I'm approaching sets. So top set, I do my back off now, and then we actually go into this single arm low row, which is basically hitting the lower lats. I'll talk a bit more on that when I actually get onto it. Whew. So single arm iso row done. Using this to hit the lower portion of the lats. So driving right down into this pocket here, kind of driving towards my actual pocket, and obviously the lower lat. But we don't really want any, you know, upper back trap, even lat come into play. We want that right down lower lat portion, and you kind of know if you've hit it or not, because it will kind of stop your range of motion dead, pretty much there. That's kind of where you want to be hitting, and obviously going down to the lower portion of the lat. You know, we see on stage, and even myself in 2023, a weak lower portion of the back. You know, erectors are pretty strong, but it's like the lower portion of the lat, which You know, obviously the top end of the lat is thicker than the bottom, but we want to really make sure we're sticking enough tissue on that lower lat, which these low rows do help with that. So got this, and now we've got a dual kind of upper back pull down. I'm using this next movement instead of a wide grip lat pull down because you can't really put the load on top of the stack on the lat pull down cable machine. Just because it comes off the rudders that are running up and down the machine. So we had to take that out about 2 months ago, and kind of just went straight onto the dual explode pull down. So using that, then we'll go upstairs, kind of more accessory work with the VR2. Another lower lat portion row. Again, driving elbows nice and low down, back and nice and low. A lot of elbow drive, pretty much all elbow driving. And then we go into hamstring movement and then calf movement, and then that's done. So normally a session takes me about 3 hours to do. So we're kind of bang on time right now to be finished. So we'll wrap these back movements up and then get into some hamstring and calf. Yep. Ooh. In with VR2 row. You've obviously had a video, I just watched it back. It looks like I'm using a lot of upper back and lat, where the actual pain I'm getting, or like the pinching sensation I'm getting, is right in the lower back, like my lower lat. So, you know, you can't take out the upper back and lats when you're doing a back movement, obviously, because that's what you're pulling with. But I think anyway, you know, using that mind to muscle connection to really hit those lower lats instead of, you know, more so hitting upper back, which I'm, you know, if it's included, then great, but I'm aiming for that lower lat, which is, you know, my intentions are driving downwards with the load. So that was top set. I was doing single arm with this, but it was just fatiguing me so much, just by the setup and having to do one arm at a time. So I'm just doing a dual. I'm still getting pretty much the same elbow drive. So it's a good movement. So this is our last back movement. Back is fried, back is pumped, back is full. So pretty much job done with it. But yeah, so we're gonna get this done. Then we got hamstring movement up here, and then seated calves downstairs. It's a pretty normal day today with food. Just a typical training day before a rest day food, so which is 5 meals for me. So it's kind of a nice day because I get to spread the meals out a bit. You know, probably like 3 hours in between meals, which is good. I'm still pretty full for each meal. You know, obviously making sure I'm getting steps in within that. You know, I'm only on 8,000 steps at the moment. Steps got reduced. Need to work out as well. So 2 liters. We have. It's a normal day today, so not a high day. So I have 50 grams of carbs pre-workout additional. No, sorry, not additional. 50 grams of carbs pre-workout. Because I'll be transparent as possible because it makes sense if I am, because you'll understand why. So the reason I'm having 50 gram carbs pre-workout is 1, because I have my pre-workout meal before bed and then I sleep and then I train fasted. 2, because we're using insulin Nova Rapid pre-training and post-training. So I need carbs going in on the drive there, just so I don't go hypo. Because I take my Nova Rapid at home. I then drive to the gym with my pre-workout, which is the 50 gram carbs, pump products, vitamin C, greens, all that good stuff. And then post, I'll have this intra-workout, which is 60 gram of carbs, with 30 grams of whey, clear whey isolate, which is why it's dead frothy at the top. So it's a bit of a, it can make you burp a bit, give you a bit gassy, but just because it's so frothy, so you get a bit of like frothy burps, which is a bit weird. But yeah, 30 gram protein, clear whey, and then your standard essential amino acids, creatine, electrolytes, and that's it. And then post-workout, I will go home, have my other bit of Nova Rapid insulin, and then post-workout meal, which is today is just cereal and whey. That reminds me, I need to get some whey on the way in. I've got an order coming from ESN today, but I ran out of protein, not yesterday, the day before, so I had to spend £10 on 3 protein shakes. £10 on 3 protein shakes, just those barbell ones, because I had no protein left, and there's nowhere where I live that sells bags of protein. Sometimes I normally have like an emergency bag just in case, but I didn't today or yesterday. So I had to spend that much yesterday on protein shakes, and then this morning I'm going to have to go and pick up a protein shake to have with my cereal because I still don't have any whey. And ESN are dropping off parcel today. So all this stuff in my intro you can get from ESN on the website. We have discounts every week, but this past week was 25% off the whole website. So if you want anything from ESN, which I would advise you get everything because they're all quality products, code Henry at checkout will get you a decent little discount on your order. So I appreciate everyone who's used my code so far. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And keep using it. ESN is a great brand, which is fairly new to the industry, especially in like the likes of the UK and Europe. Sorry, the likes of the UK. It's growing pretty rapidly, and we've got some good names on the team as well, like some very high up names. You know, guys that I follow and guys that inspire me, which is why I chose to go with them as a brand. As you know, my first brand I'm working with, so pretty cool. We are looking to venture out into America as well at some point. which is soon. I don't know any dates yet, but that's pretty soon. So that'll be exciting, just so my clients and people I know out there can use ESN products. So yeah, it's pretty cool, and it's all managed and owned by Stefan. I love Stefan and what he does in his work, and he's got that. He's got a bit of autism, and so do I. So I kind of like relate to him quite a lot of how he thinks and how he's very blunt, which I am as well. And it comes down to like straightforward, straight to the point, so I just like him from that, and obviously watch him on the bodybuilding podcasts and then ESN and things like that. So it's pretty cool to be part of that team. But like I said, anything on the website, Henry at checkout, get you a little discount. But I'm going to finish this session now because I can feel myself cooling down, which I don't want. So I'm going to finish this off and speak to you afterwards.